Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, is the late Queen Elizabeth II's second son. He was born on the 19th of February 1960. When he was born, he was second in line to the throne, just behind his older brother, Prince Charles, and before his older sister, Princess Anne. Today, he is eighth in line to the British throne. Prince Andrew received the title of Duke of York on his wedding day. According to tradition, Andrew was given a dukedom by the Queen on his wedding day. He married Sarah Ferguson, who everybody calls Fergie. They married with much fanfare in July 1986 at Westminster Abbey. They had 2 children together, but separated in 1992, finally divorcing in 1996. Nevertheless, to this day, they are still friends and remain close. On being single again, Andrew would accompany his mother to events when Prince Philip wasn't around. He accompanied his mother to Prince Philip's memorial service in March 2022. It made world headlines. In 2022, he didn't appear on the Buckingham Palace balcony for the Trooping of the Colour. That's because he was no longer a working royal. The Queen decided that 2022 Trooping the Colour balcony appearance on Thursday the 2nd of June would just be Her Majesty and members of the royal family who were undertaking official public duties on behalf of the Queen. Unfortunately, Andrew blackened his name from his associations with Jeffery Epstein in the last years. Prince Andrew and Jeffery Epstein, a financier, met back in 1999. Andrew stayed at quite a few of Epstein's properties over the years when Epstein was already a convicted sex offender. In 2019, Epstein was actually arrested for sex trafficking and died by committing suicide in prison. After Epstein's death, Buckingham Palace released a number of statements about Prince Andrew's friendship with Epstein. The news wouldn't go away that Andrew was a friend of Epstein and had stayed over at Epstein's various properties. In a broadcast interview, Prince Andrew denied all allegations that he had had sex with one of Epstein's victims, called Virginia Giuffre. He would say, "I have no recollection of ever meeting this lady, none whatsoever." Because of this scandal, he lost his military titles and remaining patronages, and he won't use his HRH title. On the 13th of January 2022, it was announced that Prince Andrew's royal patronages were to be handed back to the Queen. Other members of the royal family would receive them at the right time. They were suspended for the foreseeable future. That might sound to many as if there was a possibility that he might return to public life again. But the Queen has died now, and he, being her favorite son, won't be redeemed by any other family members, not by a long shot. Andrew generally used to see his mother on an almost daily basis, and he made the Queen laugh. Andrew remains with the title of HRH, but it just won't ever be used officially or in public. He had to deal with a lawsuit following this sex scandal. It is believed that the Queen helped Andrew by paying out something like $13 million to settle his lawsuit. There was always an unbreakable bond between Andrew and the Queen. He was well known to be her favorite, and she would have been devastated when Andrew's name was dragged through the mud. He did have himself to blame, though, but she was his mother, and she always supported him. He hasn't lost everything. He still retains his title, Prince Andrew, which he received from birth, and he still retains the Duke of York. This is under the law. The monarch can't ever take Andrew's dukedom away from him. That is the job of Parliament. Before the Queen's death, she appeared to give quite a bit of money to Andrew from her own private Duchy of Lancaster income. But that will be up to Charles to decide on now. He is still supported by his annual grant of nearly £450,000, but that is set to be cut in April by his big brother Charles. He still gets his small armed forces pension, which amounts to about £20,000 a year. Hardly enough to fund his parties. And somehow, Prince Andrew also remains in the line of succession. He is still a Councillor of State. King Charles won't strip either Prince Harry or Prince Andrew of their roles as Councillors of State, even though they have both stepped away from their royal duties. King Charles, instead, will take on 5 other councillors to help him in his official business should he be out of the country or become ill. King Charles III has said he won't let Andrew become homeless. In January 2023, it was said that he had even agreed to let Andrew pursue some business interests. And who knows, it has been said that maybe Prince Andrew and his ex-wife, the Duchess of York, Sarah Ferguson, might tie the knot again this year. That might even help to restore some of his dignity, it is thought. King Charles, though, reigns supreme and will decide on his relatives' futures. In the case of Andrew, Charles can decide where he will live in the future. Charles can also decide what kind of salary he will give to Andrew and any of the other royals. Charles requested Andrew to move out of his current residence at Royal Lodge, where he has lived since 2004. Charles requested him to move to Frogmore Cottage, the previous home of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Charles had previously evicted Harry and Meghan from Frogmore Cottage. Some royal experts reckon that kicking Andrew out of the royal family might do more harm than good. Some experts believe that if Andrew is kicked out, there might be nothing stopping him now from writing a book and embarking on dockies for TV. Keeping him rather out of the public eye seems a better plan than releasing him loose into the world. That's anybody's guess. What's next in line for Prince Andrew? Where do you think Andrew and his extensive teddy bear collection, a famously weird story of the princes, will move to next? He has been told by King Charles to move to Frogmore Cottage and leave his current residence at the Royal Lodge. Maybe Sarah Ferguson, who was living with him at the Royal Lodge, will let him share her £5 million home she has bought in Mayfair, central London. But the thing is, Andrew owns dogs and horses and likes the space for his special parties. He wanted to return to public duties. According to The Telegraph, Andrew had expressed to the Queen that he would like to return to public duties. He was sure he could clear his name, and he also wanted his 2 daughters, Princess Eugenie and Princess Beatrice, to become working royals. But it seems that since the Queen has passed on, there is not going to be any going back since his settlement in the Epstein case. It was a massive blow for Andrew to discover he had been left out of the Queen's will. She left her entire fortune, all $676 million of it, to her eldest son, King Charles III. With the death of Queen Elizabeth II, the Duke of York's exile from the working monarchy looks pretty sure to be permanent. Charles is now the new king. Any decision about Andrew will fall to him, probably in consultation with his eldest son and heir, the Duke of Cornwall and Cambridge. William already has cut off all contact with Prince Andrew. One source says there will be no public role or comeback for Andrew if the Duke of Cambridge has any input on the matter. And let me assure you, he does. Somehow, Andrew's place in the family remains. It will be up to Charles to decide whether to fund his brother's lifestyle, as the Queen did for Andrew. It is believed that Andrew received an annual salary from the Queen's £21 million a year private Duchy of Lancaster income. But now, this is now under Charles's control. Without question, Andrew has over the last few years proven to be quite a liability to the monarchy. Recent polls place him as being the most unpopular member of the royal family. Ouch! But if a crisis were to emerge, unless all the UK politicians chose to change the law, Prince Andrew still remains one of the most powerful members of the royal family. King Charles told him that there was no place for him at Buckingham Palace, and that he would be on his own at Frogmore Cottage when he moved there. His mother suggested to him that a good route forward for him would be to take on a charitable cause, as the only way towards rehabilitation. But so far, the prince is not believed to have considered any charity roles in recent years. One thing he does want to be busy with, though, is considering his legal options in the sex scandal he was involved in. Virginia Giuffre, who dropped a similar sexual abuse case against lawyer Alan Dershowitz, as she did to Andrew, said that she may have been mistaken in accusing him. It seems he is desperate to clear his name. The Queen sure was a staunch supporter of her son, but now with her death in September 2022, the prince looks as if he might be set to remain in the royal wilderness. Money can't buy happiness, but it can certainly buy plenty of drama.